You gotta tell me.
Everything kind of went off the rails, and so we need you to come back, because everyone kept asking me where the Avengers are, and I don't know what to say to that, so you're lucky that Spider-Man won.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. They just released Spider-Man Far From Home on digital today, so we have a much better look at the post-credit scenes and all the stuff that they're teasing for Spider-Man 3 in Marvel Phase 4. We'll do a new giveaway for copies of the movie. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your best Spider-Man 3 theory on the video. So we'll talk about the stuff that they were clearly trying to set up with these post-credit scenes, and then some of the other stuff that they talk about on the bonus features, and now what's going to be different about that because Spider-Man 3 will be a pure Sony film without a whole lot of MCU stuff in it. There are some bonus features that are a little bit awkward now when you watch them on this home video release, where they talk about Spider-Man's role in Marvel Phase 4 and how he's growing into one of the leaders of the MCU. It's a good reminder that the people on the ground that actually are responsible for making these movies don't have anything to do with negotiating those huge contracts in the boardrooms. But you start with a deleted scene of Peter walking out of the airport. Aunt May greets him, tries to pick him up. They make the joke about the luggage being blown up. Remember, that was the luggage that belonged to Uncle Ben. So it's kind of a sad moment. I'm sure at some point during the next two Spider-Man films that Sony announced they're making Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man 4, they will reference Uncle Ben at some point in a more meaningful way. But in the deleted scene, Aunt May actually asks Peter about the Stark Tech glasses. Peter's like, what do you think of these? And she's like, you know, that doesn't really look that great on you, which is just a joke about Mysterio earlier in the movie trying to get the glasses from him, telling him that they look stupid on him. He tells her that they used to belong to Iron Man. She feels kind of bad for telling him that they don't look so great on him and says, you'll grow into them. So it's just a reference that he'll continue to be using those glasses. Obviously, that's going to change now because they're leaning away from Marvel Cinematic Universe references with Spider-Man 3 because of this split. So he'll still have the glasses, but they probably won't reference them. He'll probably just put them on a shelf somewhere in the background if they appear at all during Spider-Man 3. But then after he addresses Aunt May and Happy's relationship, RIP to their relationship, because of all the characters that they can bring into Spider-Man 3 through the Sony deal, Happy is not one of them, because technically he originated in an MCU movie, not in the Sony Spider-Man movies. There was another question about that. Which actors can they use? Which actors can they not use? Anybody that originated in Spider-Man Homecoming, all the classmates, those people, they can come back for Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man 4, any movies that Sony wants to make on their own. Spider-Man swings out to meet his date with MJ. He pulls out his phone and starts taking selfies just like Marvel's Spider-Man game. That's a reference to the actual game. But as he's swinging through Midtown, he actually swings and runs across the Osborn penthouse from the Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. No idea if they're going to bring Norman Osborn into the trilogy even faster now, because it seems like they're spinning up for Sinister Six and they want that spin-off franchise that they did not get to do during the Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man era. In real life, that two-door complex can actually be found near the United Nations between 40th, 43rd, 1st, and 2nd Avenues. He glides through the newly redesigned Avengers Tower. Still haven't found out who bought that. Originally, I think most of us thought that it was going to turn into the new Baxter Building and the home of the Fantastic Four, because Kevin Feige's been hyping them up so much, and there's another Fantastic Four Easter egg within moments of this scene. But because of the Marvel-Sony split, I wouldn't be surprised if they turn this into Oscorp now, which would also be a really good thematic Easter egg, where you have Norman Osborn trying to forcibly take the legacy of Tony Stark on himself. I am the new leader of this giant universe, but because it's Sony, it's easier for them to use that because they can't really use any other characters from Marvel. He swings down on the pole, and you see the signs in the background of the construction. That's also adjacent to the new Avengers Tower. It has the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 with arrows pointing to a question mark for Marvel Phase 4, also Fantastic Four Easter egg, but also says, we can't wait to show you what comes next. So that's a bit of their Marvel Phase 4 teaser. We can't wait to show you all this stuff, because this actually dropped before the big Marvel Phase 4 Comic-Con panel. So when we were watching this in the theater, we had no idea officially what they were going to be doing during Marvel Phase 4. But the place where they're standing here on the corner, East 41st and Library Way, is just a couple blocks away from where the Baxter Building is in the comics. So we're right around the corner from quote-unquote Fantastic Four. Kevin Feige revealed that they're developing a Fantastic Four movie at Comic-Con. Part of the reason why we probably don't see any literal, very obvious Fantastic Four references is because this is a Sony Spider-Man movie that they made in combination with Marvel, and they want to keep a lot of that to themselves. He swings with MJ all the way to Penn Station. She screams and says they're never doing that again. Then as he gets ready to leave, the news broadcast starts and the station plays the video that Mysterio sent them through his underling, who may or may not take the mantle of Mysterio in future movies. There are a lot of theories about how Mysterio could have survived that bridge fight. I'll talk about that in a second. He cleverly pins the whole thing on Spider-Man. Really anybody with Premiere Pro or any basic editing tools could put together a video like that and air it. That's part of Mysterio's joke, is that it's such a basic turn, but everybody believes it because it's being aired on news. People just automatically believe everything that they see on the news. We get our J. Jonah Jameson cameo. Amy Pascal also recently revealed that part of the reason for bringing him back was to tie this to the earlier Sam Raimi Spider-Man films. They didn't really get to J. Jonah Jameson during Andrew Garfield era, but there were all kinds of viral teasers for the Daily Bugle, so they had intended to introduce him at some point during that franchise. She wasn't really clear when she said how much they wanted to tie these new Tom Holland Spider-Man films to the Tobey Maguire films. Like, are you going to bring him back for a cameo, or do you just want this to be a thematic connection? You can theory craft about that. There's been talk about live-action Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and they talked about bringing Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield back for the animated Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So at some point eventually, you will see some version of those older Spider-Men come back in some capacity, whether it be cameo or bigger roles. Then you get the Nick Fury post-credit scene, and this is an even bigger Marvel Phase 4 teaser. For stuff that's coming, we get to Fantastic Four, Silver Surfer, all the big cosmic stuff that's coming up. Talos and his wife change back. They make jokes about how they completely botched up the very simple task that Nick Fury gave them. We were just supposed to give the glasses to the kid, and that was it. They also drop an Easter egg about Kree sleeper cells, which is a very big twist on a secret invasion trope. The whole idea with comic book Civil War is that it was the Skrulls that tried to take over planet Earth after Marvel's Civil War tore everyone apart. It left Earth in a very weakened state, ripe for takeover. That's what the Skrulls took advantage of. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the big twist is that most of the Skrulls are actually good people, and because this is all HD, nice and shiny, you can clearly see that everybody that's working with Nick Fury on this SWORD space station from the comics in Earth's orbit is a Skrull. The joke about Nick Fury being that he's supposed to be on a mission on this SWORD space station for some big Marvel Phase 4, Marvel Phase 5 cosmic stuff, but at the moment that he calls him, he's actually just chilling out on a quote-unquote Tahiti simulation beach, just like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Tahiti is a wonderful place. When he sits up to walk off and go find his shoes, you look off to the side on the panel there, you can see some of these shapes forming a 4 in the background, another Fantastic Four Easter egg. You look over here in the background and you can actually see some of the outside of the space station. It actually looks like a giant sword. That's one of the reasons why they call it SWORD, but it's also an acronym, just like S.H.I.E.L.D. is an acronym for Sentient World Observation and Response Department. It's basically a space-based version of S.H.I.E.L.D. for cosmic threats that are trying to attack Earth from outside. Marvel just announced that they're doing a Silver Surfer movie. We kind of knew that they would do that eventually, but they've already announced Fantastic Four. Silver Surfer is somebody that comes from the Fantastic Four comics, so that makes sense that you would do Fantastic Four before you do Silver Surfer Galactus stuff. This is all setting up big Avengers 5 level stuff, but Kevin Feige did reveal that there will not be an Avengers movie during Marvel Phase 4, not till Marvel Phase 5, just because they're setting up so many new characters during Phase 4. Here's the thing though, because of the Sony Spider-Man split, there's a whole lot of MCU stuff that they were setting up for Spider-Man that they'll have to lean away from, and a whole lot of MCU stuff they were setting up for Spider-Man that the MCU will have to lean away from for a little while. Remember, Avengers 5 isn't happening for a long time. They have plenty of time to work out a new deal to get Spider-Man back in the MCU before that happens. That's why Spider-Man 3 will probably lean into Kraven the Hunter, Spider-Man Hunted, Spider-Man Homeless, however you want to think about it, him on the run, John Wick 3 style, with everybody that Sony wants to throw at him coming after him. He's already making his new suits. He'll have to make a new suit because Sony will want to get him out of the MCU versions of the suits. They'll probably find some way to destroy the new black and red suit that he just built for himself. And even though technically they do have rights to use the Iron Spider suit, they will probably take that away from him too, just to lean away from Iron Man references and Easter eggs, because they can't reference any more Iron Man stuff. So a lot of the Iron Man Easter eggs and the stuff that he built on won't really make sense if you can't mention Iron Man. So don't be surprised if they start leaning into Sinister Six and Venom faster than they originally would have, because originally the intention was for Kevin Feige to produce Spider-Man 3 and Spider-Man 4 just like he did the first two films. Then after that, you would probably start to see some of the crazier stuff that the Sony people have talked about, like live-action Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, big Infinity War level events centered around the Spider-Man character, but through Sony instead of through Marvel. Like I said, there's a lot of Fantastic Four stuff being teased in this. They just announced the Silver Surfer movie. I'll do a video for that next. That should post later today. But if there are any Easter eggs in the post-credit scene that I didn't mention that you guys spotted, write them below in the comments. While you wait for everything, click here for that brand new deleted scene of them dropping Spider-Man and X-Men crossover back during Iron Man 1 and Phase 1. And click here for my video about Quicksilver coming back during Doctor Strange 2. Thank you so much for watching. Everybody stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.